going to go ahead and get started. It's 5:33. If you need to sign in or anything, please go ahead and finish doing that. My name is Mirandy Edwards, and I'm going to let my partners here introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Rhonda Jackson.
Hello, I'm Alexia Ruiz.
And we are a part of the school's multi-tiered support systems for Plainview ISD. We're here tonight presenting about spreading empathy, anti-violence, family violence, child abuse, and dating violence. So we have some special guest speakers tonight. We have the Crisis Center who's going to talk to us about family violence, and then we have a member of the Plainview ISD staff who's going to give us a personal testimony, and then we'll wrap up talking a little bit about empathy. Are you guys ready? Yeah.
While she's getting ready, we just want to say thank you all for taking the time out to come and be a part of this event with us tonight. If any of you are here from Impact and you need a form to get signed so that you can have get a day reduced, please see us before you leave.
Can you see it okay? Do you need to read
no,
them
it's
or
good.
anything?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, if you want to go forward, you just have
Okay, so this one. Okay, yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Chrissy. I'm from the Crisis Center of the Plains. I'm an advocacy director out there. And so today I just wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about family violence. They did ask us to come speak about that, and something that we're very passionate about. I did bring, I have Kaylee at the table back there, so at any point you want to talk to an advocate or just get more information, she's back there. But we do go into schools, we do talk to the schools and the kids about family violence, domestic violence, and teen dating violence. So the first one that I have is just talking about what family violence is. For those of you who don't know what qualifies as family violence can be physically or any kind of physical or sexual abuse, emotionally, psychological abuse as well. A lot of people think physical abuse is the only kind of abuse there is, but we go out and talk to the kids a lot about verbal abuse. We actually went to Health Center today and talked to the kids, and a lot of them were very aware of what verbal abuse is. And so that's really good that the kids are very aware that it's not just physical, but verbal as well. And so we went over that with them today. Emotionally abusive is part of it as well. Being manipulative and manipulative tactics, things like that. Also threatening behavior, any kind of threatening. It's going to kind of go into the bullying that they're going to talk about a little bit today as well. But any kind of threatening behavior that the kids are experiencing qualifies as family violence. Any kind of coercive behavior, which is can be other students or it can be family members coercing or convincing. Convincing them, it's okay, I'm sorry. Convincing them to do things that they should not be doing, that can be a physical violence as well. So in any other way, so how we describe it is the other way of controls or dominates the family member and causes that family member to feel fear for their safety or well-being of that family member or another person. It also includes behavior by a person that causes a child to hear or witness or otherwise be exposed to the effects or behavior referred in any of these ways. So there's different ways of violence and abuse that we're seeing in the community, and so today we really want to talk about some of those things that we're seeing. We're always behind 2 years, and so we always prepare the numbers for you guys 2 years back just because it takes us that long to accumulate a lot of the data in the counties that we serve. We serve 7 counties, and we'll talk about what those counties are here in just a little bit. But in 2022, we had 611 services that we provided for victims. That is a very large number for this area, considering that the counties are very small that we service. And so we had 611 victims that we actually provided services for. We had 203 of those were dual or sexual assault. So sexual assaults were at 203. We had sorry, just a second. Our dual ones, I can barely see the screen on this side. 408 was the ones that were dual, which means they were mixed with domestic violence, and they also had sexual assault combined with it, okay? So these are the numbers that we're seeing in our communities. These are the numbers that our advocates are servicing, the victims that we're helping in this community, okay? one of the things that we really wanted to talk about today, because while we have numbers and it seems like a really large number, I really wanted to talk about the effects that we're seeing in the families in our own community. It's really just a powerful message today about how it's impacting our kids and also the families that we're seeing every day in the schools. We have been seeing families that are being displaced and leaving their homes due to family violence. So as you can imagine, when there is a family violence situation, they are packing up and leaving their homes with everything that they have known, right? And that includes not having everything that they've had once before, as far as clothing, the resources, the money that they once had to make ends meet, those kinds of things. And so that's what we're seeing as far as in the home. We're also seeing that children and teens are needing more counseling due to the abuse that they're seeing in the homes. Counseling is very important for them to move forward through all of the things that they're going through, especially during trauma. So it's very important. We're also seeing children going through legal processes. So we're also legal advocates. We go to court with them. And we're seeing them really struggle going through these legal processes, going to court with the families, with the moms and the dads going through those processes. Financial instability. Of course, when you have two family homes that now go to one, we're seeing that that's making it harder, right, for the family to make ends meet and things like that. So they're now going to a one income versus the two incomes that they had. And also children being removed from homes due to the family violence that causes stress on children's emotions and the focus they have in school. I want to take a minute just to see if we have any questions, because I know it's a lot of information, a little bit of time. Do y'all have any questions so far? About numbers we're seeing, anything? No? Okay. I always like to pause because I know that it's a lot of information in a little bit of time, so I just wanted to take a minute. I'm going to bring Missy up here for just a minute, and she's going to talk about some of the services that we provide, okay? She's going to kind of just talk about some of the things that we do as advocates from day to day, and that way she can kind of go over what we're seeing and what we're doing with the families on a day-to-day.
Hello, everyone. I am Missy, and I'm from the Crisis Centers of the Plains, and I'm an advocate for sexual abuse. And we do a lot of good things that we tried out to help the public and people that are not in a community to make sure that they're not alone, that there is hope, and there's a way out of a solution. Some of the things that we do, I'm going to just walk around. Is that okay? I can't see. We're a 24-hour crisis hotline and emergency center. That's at any time from 8 to 5 where they're in the office. After that, from 5 till the next day, we have a cell phone that we're on call. We rotate. And if you need anything, anybody's going through something, you call that number, and then we'll come out to you. And a lot of times, we go also and meet the victims at the hospital, the ER. So they'll call us, the police department will call us and say, hey, we have somebody here that's needing your help. So we go out there, get the information. Once they're released, the next day, they can come into the office. We do a whole chart on them to try to evaluate it, to see where we best we can do to help them out. What services, thank you, what services they can fall under. We have support groups as well. A lot of clients that sometimes they just go back home or different places. We give them an hour a week. They can come in and we can have one-on-one so they can be able to relieve whatever it is that they have to say to us, and everything's kept confidential. Sometimes, you can just go to a certain person and have to say, you know what, this is what I have to say. This is what I'm feeling. So we're there for them. And those support groups will have different people that sometimes we also go to the jails. And we went here last Wednesday. That was our first one that we went back. And we helped those women that are there as well. So we have different kind. We also have the food, clothing, and transportation. That when people come in, women come in, or men that have to go to our safe house, we pick them up and transport them to that place. A lot of them sometimes don't have clothing, so we'll provide the clothing for them. They're being fed and taken care of as well. For the law enforcement complement, we go with them. We support whatever the police department says. We go one-on-one. We help them. We're there, and whatever they're needing, we need from them. They'll back us up as well. Also, the court, we're allowed just to go with them for emotional support. We're not allowed to say anything, but we're there to say, hey, you're here. It's okay. It's going to be okay, to try to calm them down. Because I know a lot of times nobody has gone to court in front of a judge. It's a serious thing. So we're there to say, you know what, we got you. We're here to help you. We're the DA. And all services are free for victims and confidential. Anything and every person that comes into our office, it is kept between them and us. Nothing is said to anybody outside those doors. So that is one of the things that we do have with our clients. And we serve Hale, Floyd, Mountley, Castro, Switzer, Briscoe, and Hall counties. So we go to different, like we went to Memphis last year for school, and we presented to, I think it was like 150 students in the auditorium, and it was about violence. So we go way and beyond just being in office. We're here to help anybody and everybody that's needing help from us. And how y'all can help. We support our cause for victims of domestic violence, and we have the Broadway Treasures. Do y'all know where that's at? Down here? So this is our store. We can say it's our store. A lot of people come and donate stuff, and then we help victims that sometimes don't have clothing or anything. We'll say, hey, we can pull some from here. We'll give them an option. They can go there and grab something to carry with them to the safe home. There's a lot of donations that come from different parts, and we appreciate everybody that donates. All donations are accepted, which is money or clothing, hygiene, whatever it is that y'all can donate. We appreciate it, and we receive everything. Volunteers are always welcome. We have some volunteers in the back that take everything apart, take everything out from the people that donate. They clean it up and they put it back on the floor so it can be sold. And all that money goes back into the center to buy more things for the clients. Our store hours are Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 5:30, Saturdays 10 to 3. We're closed on Sundays. If y'all need a number, there's 806-291-8058. Okay, thank y'all.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and finish up. I think the last thing that we just want to end with is just two questions. Sorry, I have this cord over here. And so we have two questions that we like to ask just before we finish up our presentations. But it is, do you make a space or encourage you to speak up and use their voice against violence or situations that they feel unsafe? I think the most important thing is in school settings or even at home that we leave a space for kids to be able to speak up against violence and feel safe to talk about maybe the violence that they're seeing, whether it's in school, whether it's at the home, or whether it's at other people's homes that they visit. It's just an opportunity for the kids to speak up against what they're seeing. We do have a lot of teens that come into the office to talk to us about family violence as well as violence that they're seeing outside of the home. And so we just want to encourage everyone here just to kind of leave a space open for them to speak and feel free to speak about what they're seeing and the uncomfortable situations that they're in. They either feel safe to speak up or they don't, and we determine the comfortability in which they do to use their voices. We determine just that comfortability that they have to speak up and talk about what they're seeing. And again, we want to be that safe place for them, whether we're their parents or whether we're at school with them and spending that time as teaching them or in counseling situations. I'm going to leave this last slide up. It has our information. We also have some handles that you guys can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. But we have our hours on there. We have our hotline available. At any time, though, we have Kaylee at the table back there that has pamphlets that have all of this information on it. So if you just feel free to go back there and grab one before you leave, and that way you have that information. And thank you guys for letting us just come speak about family violence today.
Okay, we really want to thank our friends from the Crisis Center of the Plains for coming out and joining us on this presentation today. We thought that information would be best coming from the people that are experienced and experts at providing that type of information. So again, we thank you for coming. And just know that your schools, we do provide a safe space for our students to go and talk about situations such as these if they feel comfortable doing so. We do have campus counselors at every campus who are very willing to discuss things with our kids. But our team, we assist with our campus counselors, and once need is identified, then we will help reach out to the community and find that identified need. We do partner with the Crisis Center of the Plains, and we have made many referrals to Crisis Center of the Plains. So we are working in that area, but we, like she said, we do want to make sure that everyone is comfortable and feel that they have that safe space to go and talk about those situations. Up next, we have a personal testimony from a friend of ours who would like to share her testimony about a situation that she has gone through. I'm so sorry we forgot our Kleenexes, but Miss Raina, if you would like to come.
Hello, I'm Miss Serena. I am the assistant at the impact side at ASH. My sons and I were in a very toxic home for many years. First, it started with the boy's dad being very loving, very charismatic, saying all the sweet words that I wanted to hear, and then the verbal abuse started. I thought, oh, they're gonna change. It's okay. It's all right. They're just upset. But the thing is, my two oldest sons are disabled, and they were going through a lot of seizures at the time. So financially, we weren't stable. We were struggling, and it started to take a toll. Well, he started hating the boys because they had a lot of accidents on themselves. They couldn't go to the restroom. They needed a lot of care. So one day, he left them at his mom's house, and Bernard, this is my Bernardo right there. My Bernard had a handprint right here, and on his back. And then my Romeo did too, on his neck and on his back. And when I asked their grandma what had happened, she wouldn't tell me. She just said, I don't know, he just left them. So I asked my youngest one, and he was maybe like 4 or 5. And he goes, Dad spanked them because they peed on themselves. And one good thing about the crisis center, even though this one, we were in Big Spring at the time, and they have a crisis center there too, and they're very welcoming. They help me out. And I remember when I filed that police report, I was so scared. I thought, man, he's going to come after me. He's going to kill me because he had the knives, he had the guns. I was like, oh man, my kids were in danger. And I remember we were there in the court, and I was so nervous. I was shaking. The lady was like, it's okay, we got you. And sure enough, they had us separated, and there was the police officer and the crisis center employee, and they were helping me out. But I'm standing here, and I have a friend. He's an artist, and I asked him to make this painting for me. And poor thing, I've been telling him my story repeatedly, and I never realized that I had been telling him my story. And he was like, why do you keep telling me your story? And it wasn't until today that I decided, I'm going to tell my story, that I'm always going to live with that guilt that I had to put my kids through it. If you are going through something like that, please remember you are loved, and that your family doesn't have to go through it. Your kids don't have to go through that. And it's not anything that you did. It's just that person needs to work on themselves. And I love my kiddos, and I'm trying. And I have my moments where it's tough, and I don't want to talk to anybody. Or sometimes I'm like a parrot. I always bring it up. I never stop talking about it. But hopefully one day I can pick up the pieces and not feel so guilty about putting my sons through it. So if you're in a spot and you're seeing that happen to your mom or your dad, it's going to be okay. But you have to make that step. You have to be determined to make a difference. Say hi, Bernie. And he's mad. He likes to go to the store. He thought we were going to go to the store first. So I had to take him to the store. But like I was saying, I had my friend, he's an artist. I had him make this painting for me. Because a lot of the times we're in the darkness when all this happens, and we think it's never going to get any better. But once you start changing your mindset, and it's not going to happen overnight, it's going to take time. I mean, for us, it's still been, 14 years. I'm still trying to work on it. But I had him paint this for me. It's a skeleton hand holding a rose. And it means there's beauty in the darkness. And this actually glows in the dark. So at night when I'm laying there and I'm like, man, I'm a bad mom, I look at this. And just for a little bit, I think, you know what? We're going to be okay. I know we're going to be okay. And at work, too, I try to encourage the students to do better, that they're not bad kids, that they're good kids. And this is a story I want them to take with them. That you can go through, can I say that word? Hockey sticks. That you can go through hell, but you can bounce back. You can be strong, and like Reba, you're a survivor, okay? But thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Serena, for sharing your vulnerable and brave story with us. We're honored to be able to hold space with you like that tonight, and we appreciate your time. I'm just going to switch over to a different presentation.
While she's getting that ready, again, we want to say thank you for all who came out to be a part of this. February is a month of love. It can be a fun month, and it can also be a tough month for some. So we just want to make sure that everybody is aware. You never know what the next person next to you is going through. So we're going to wrap this up with talking a little bit about empathy. Is where we're going next. It's just good to be aware of this and to try and have it for each other. I know it's hard in the world in which we live in today, but if we could all find that spot and show empathy to others, it would make for a better world.
So we're going to start off talking about spreading empathy, because we know when we have more empathy in our world that we have a kinder and safer place to live. So a pretty bland definition of empathy is that empathy is the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of another. So that is a pretty boring kind of definition. So we wanted to bring something with a little bit more, of a description that's a little bit more colorful. So Dr. Brene Brown, who is a self-described researcher and storyteller, has a somewhat more entertaining explanation. So we're going to show you a short 3-minute video to kind of give you a better example of what empathy is.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy: perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth, staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do, recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So it's hard to have a conversation about empathy these days without talking about Brene Brown. We're actually going to get into a few examples about empathy, so I'm going to let Ms. Rhonda take over for a minute.
So let's talk some about empathy. Empathy misses that Brene Brown talks about in her book, Atlas of the Heart. We're very big fans of Brene Brown. She's someone, when you're in the field that we work in, she is a very big help. So we refer to her a lot. Okay, the first empathy miss that we will discuss, what did you say? Is sympathy versus empathy. Okay. Here it's saying, I feel sorry for you. The person who responds with sympathy I feel sorry for you rather than empathy. I get it. I feel with you. I've been there. The subtext of this response is distance. These things don't happen to me or people like me. That's basically what it's saying. The second empathy miss that we're going to discuss is judgment. Judgment makes us feel shame. The person who hears the story actually feels shame for you, and no one likes to be felt shamed for or have judgment placed upon them. Then you have to make a person feel better by convincing them that you're not a terrible person. And go ahead.
And then there'll be two more we'll ask. We're hoping some students will be brave and volunteer. Somebody has some good acting. Okay? So we're friends talking. I'm going to tell her something and she's going to give me a non-empathetic response. Okay? So,
On the second volunteer, when it's time for the second one, did Mr. Harvey talk with anybody today about volunteering? No one? Okay, thank you.
So I'm talking friend to friend, okay? And I'm telling my friend, Alexia, I lost my temper with my mom today after band practice. She is always so extra, but I feel awful now.
Well, you should feel awful because your mom is nice.
Is that a very empathetic response? No. So what is a more empathetic? So there's actually directions on your table about 4 things you can do to have it. It's not easy. Me and Rhonda came up with them and nobody else could come up with them. We realized it's actually quite hard to unite. How would you respond if your friend came to you and said, man, I was so mean to my mom today that how what would you say? Yeah, we do. We tend to say that. We should go on. Can anybody think of anything? We pre-gamed, so we have a response. It took us a while to come up with it. So we were thinking something like this, okay? We were thinking instead of saying you should feel bad, we could say something like, I understand. I feel bad when I snap at my mom. Sometimes it can just be that easy, right? What do you guys think? Does anybody fall into judgment for something?
Okay. The third empathy miss is disappointment. You've let me down. The person needs you to be the pillar of worthiness and authenticity. This person can't help you because they are too disappointed in your imperfections. You've let this person down. The fourth empathy miss that we want to share is discharging discomfort with blame. This feels terrible. Who can we blame? Because shame is, what is that, visceral or contagious? We can feel it for other people. This person immediately needs to discharge and discomfort and vulnerability of the situation by blaming and scolding.
So who wants to help us with this? Have any students who want to volunteer? I think she's perfect for it because she came matching with the presenter today. So it's like, oh,
They can do both.
and then go make the empathy. So you're going to read the highlight. And on this one here, this is a kid talking to their mom.
Mom, today at school was so hard. I'm very sad right now.
Well, did you wear the pants I bought you? Are you trying to talk to the people? Those kids are always stuck up.
Remember, these are empathy misses. Okay. Let's try it again, ladies. They couldn't hear. You're doing great. We may have a surprise for you.
Mom, today at school was so hard. Nobody sat with me at lunch.
Well, did you wear those new pants I bought you? Are you trying to talk to new people? Those kids are all stuck up anyway.
Good job. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Can anybody think of an empathetic response to that? It's hard. As a parent, you're triggered. You probably just want to go to school and beat down some kids yourself, right? Your kid just told you I had to sit by myself at lunch. What would you say to them? Most of us are like, who are the jerks ignoring you? Why did this happen? Right? But that's not empathetic, right? What we're doing is we're discharging our own discomfort. So what about just looking at your kid and going, man, that sucks. I remember what it was like sitting by myself in that junior high cafeteria, right? Sometimes it's really just that simple of letting somebody know I'm here to hold space for you. I don't have to fix it for you, okay? So.
And the two ladies that volunteered, please remember to see us afterwards, okay? There may be something, a little special something for you. Okay, the next empathy miss we're going to discuss is minimize, avoid. When we think about avoiding or minimizing things, we think about, let's just make this go away. We minimize and avoid when we want hard feelings to go away. Out of their own discomfort, this person refuses to acknowledge that you're in a pain and or hurting. You're exaggerating. It wasn't that bad. You rock. You're perfect. Everyone loves you. The next empathy miss is comparing or competing. if you think that's bad. This person confuses connecting with you over shared experiences with the opportunity to one-up you. Don't we all feel like that sometimes? We got to get the person back. We got to one-up them. It's got to be better than what happened. That's nothing. Listen to what happened to me one time. This will be our last volunteer opportunity.
One more? So you'll read the statement. How are you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah.
You want to do? Okay.
Are we done now?
Yep, you read.
My last breakup was so tough. It took me forever to get over it. Sometimes I'm still not sure if I am over it.
Well, at least it was a mutual breakup. My ex cheated on me.
We'll talk later. Can anybody think of a better, more empathetic response to that? It's hard. We broke our heads thinking about it. So here's what we came up with, okay? What if you said something more like, man, that's tough. It sounds like you're really hurting right now. How can I support you? What do you guys think? Any other suggestions? I know we're putting you on the spot. We had time to brainstorm. Okay,
That's a good one.
take them out to do something.
Okay, the last empathy myth that we're going to talk about today is advice giving, problem solving. I can fix this, I can fix you. Sometimes when we see pain, our first instinct is to fix it. I would say I fall very heavily into this empathy myth. Usually when I'm talking to students, sometimes that's my first instinct, is to try and help fix the situation, you know. This is especially true for those of us whom people seek out to help with problem solving. In this instance, rather than listen and be with people in their emotion, we start trying to fix things immediately. So that is an empathy miss. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the last one that I have. Oh, how do I go back? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. According to Dr. Brene Brown, the 4 attributes of empathy are perspective taking. What is that experience like for you? Staying out of judgment, just listen, don't put value on it. Recognizing emotion in another person that you have maybe felt before. Communicating that you can recognize that emotion. Sometimes it's simply, that's hard, I get that. And we provided these 4 attributes for you on the table. If you choose to take them, you're more than welcome. Empathy has no script. There's no right way or wrong way to do it. It's simply listening, holding space without judgment, emotionally connecting and communicating. That incredibly healing message of you're not alone. Many times that's all people need from us, is to just let them know that you're not alone. A lot of, like what the lady from the crisis center said, just being there to support someone, just being there, you know, for them to lean on. It's not always about us giving them advice or trying to fix it. Sometimes it's just simply being there for someone. So, and again, we want to make sure that you know that that's what we're here for you. Students, we're here for you in that area. You could always reach out to your campus counselor first, and we're also here to support them in that area. We just want you to know that we're here for you in any area that you're needing support in.
I don't know about you guys, but me and Rhonda felt convicted reading those empathy misses. They're pretty easy traps to fall into. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, now that we've defined empathy, where empathy comes from. How come some people seem to have an abundance of it? And then there's those people, we all know them, who seem to not have very much at all. So, in grad school, I used to work at a 12-bed, 90-day residential substance abuse treatment facility for adolescent males. It was usually required as a part of probation that they be there, and it was usually a last resort. It was one of the final steps. If they messed up this treatment and didn't finish successfully, they were going to get sent to juvenile detention for a long time. It was during this time that I met a client who changed how I viewed empathy. He was a part of a gang and had participated in various criminal activities. This included taking part in several home invasions. Sometimes the family would be home and they would tie them up while they robbed the home. He was often asked to participate in these crimes because he was only 14 years old, but he had the appearance of an 18-year-old. He knew, and his fellow gang members knew, he would face less legal consequences if he got in trouble. He was an easy out for them. He also had a home life that was chaotic and provided almost no supervision or guidance. So in a lot of ways, the gang was the family to him. While he often expressed love and empathy for his friends and his families when he and I talked, I was shocked to hear the lack of empathy for the victims of his crimes, particularly the families he tied up during the home invasions. He had no empathy for them at all. During one counseling exercise, I asked him to picture a past home invasion and to replace his victims with his own family. I'll never forget the look of utter realization on his face. In that moment, I saw him see the situation through a personal viewpoint, a more empathetic lens. In time, I came to see that many of these clients lacked empathy, not because they were incapable, but because they had rarely seen or felt empathy in their own lives. Regulation, control, empathy, and kindness are a few skills that we need to be taught and modeled, just like math, reading, or any other academic subject. If a child isn't exposed to kindness, the circuits in the brain for kindness fail to develop. If a child isn't exposed to empathy, the circuits in the brain for empathy will not develop. So here's mine and Rhonda's babies. From birth, we seek intimate connections, bonds made possible by empathy, the ability to love and to share the feelings of others. Babies display an understanding that people's actions are guided by intentions and are able to act on that understanding before they are 18 months old, including trying to comfort a parent. More advanced reasoning about other people's thoughts develops around the age 5 or 6, and research shows that parents who promote and model empathy raise more empathetic children. In Dr. Bruce Perry's book, Born for Love, Why Empathy is Essential and Endangered, he explains that we are indeed born for love, but at birth, we are not yet fully loving. Infants' brains are the most malleable and vulnerable that they will be outside of the womb. The gifts of our biology are a potential, not a guarantee. As with so many other human potentials present at birth, empathy and love require specific experiences to develop. Just as Mozart could never have become a musical genius if his father hadn't provided lessons and instruments, and Michael Jordan would not have become the superb athlete that he had been without access to hoops, balls, and courts. Babies don't learn to care and connect without a specific early experience. Although we are genetically predisposed to care for others, the development of empathy requires a lifelong process of relational interactions. The brain becomes what it does. A little bit about why empathy is endangered is said really well in then Senator Barack Obama's commencement speech to the 2006 graduating class of Northwest University. He said, "There's a lot of talk in this country about the federal deficit, but I think we should talk more about our empathy deficit. The ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, to see the world through those who are different from us. The child who's hungry, the laid-off steelworker, the immigrant woman cleaning your dorm room. As you go in life, cultivating this quality of empathy will become harder, not easier. There's no community service requirement in the real world. No one is forcing you to care. You'll be free to live in neighborhoods with people who are exactly like yourself and send your kids to the same schools and narrow your concerns to what's going on in your own little circle. Not only that, we live in a culture that discourages empathy, A culture that too often tells us our principal goal in life is to be rich, thin, young, famous, safe, and entertained. But we need empathy. Consider that it wasn't long ago that Americans had a choice of a few national television channels to watch. I know that sounds barbaric to the younger ones in this room, resulting in a relatively same culture. Today, we have so many media sources that it's all too easy to tune into those that reinforce our own pre-existing biases. A Kaiser Family Foundation study notes that 8 to 18-year-olds spend more time with media than any other activity besides maybe sleeping. An average of more than 7.5 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if any teachers or counselors have checked a kid's phone lately, you know it can often be a lot more than that. I think some kids just don't sleep sometimes. Without empathy, we tend to divide people into us and them, which leads to suspicion, miscommunication, and conflict. Bullying results from a lack of empathy, and its consequences can be long-lasting. In addition to seeing the world through an us versus them lens, strict adherence to authority and desire to satisfy a peer group to go along to get along can lead to a marked reduction in sensitivity to the plight of others. Empathy also has an impact on our community. When we lack it, at every level from the hormonal to the sociological, trust and empathy beget more trust and empathy. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. Neglect, stress, and isolation perpetuate themselves too. Empathy underlies virtually everything that makes society work, like trust, altruism, collaboration, love, and charity. Failure to empathize is a key to most social problems. Crime, violence, war, racism, child abuse, and inequity, just to list a few. We went to a conference with Region 17 in Lubbock this last October, and one of the professors there was doing research on the impact of social media and cyber safety. And they had actually went out and asked a bunch of adolescents, when considering the disclosure of personal mental health information to parents, what are some of the things you consider? What are some of the barriers? And what they had found was that a lot of teens said, you know, perceptions of our parents' empathy has a lot to do with whether we'll disclose to them. So if our children don't perceive us as being open or empathetic to what they're struggling with, it actually increases the possibility that they're not going to come to us with that problem. And of course, we know empathy is important at school. Empathy is the most important back-to-school supply for teachers. Or as Carly Andrews, principal of Bosque Middle School in Albuquerque, New Mexico says, empathy is central to great teaching. And when it is lacking, ideas narrow, compassion wanes, and the great health of the teacher-family-child relationship dynamic diminishes. If we want a kinder, more caring society, people need more experiences and places in which they feel safe. Empathy produces kindness, and calm creates safety, which then allows more empathy. And so that's why in the school, when we work with social emotional learning, we're working with the big five. We're talking about self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And that's where learning to demonstrate and identify empathy and compassion comes into the lessons and the work that we do with the kids. I know we talked a lot about empathy, and you guys are probably ready to get the heck out of here. So we've got one more 3-minute video that talks about what teaching empathy in school looks like, and then we'll let you guys free. You'll be free to go join the wild again, okay?
And again, that empathy information is being spoken to your students, to your children from the campus counselors and from our department.
And it's often, yeah, a part of like their guidance lessons and things like that.
Students are better able to navigate the world if they can understand the perspectives of others. They will build better relationships at school, at home, and on their future jobs if they can empathize with others, including those from backgrounds and cultures that are different from their own.
When we talk about social awareness, we're talking about our ability to understand others and how they feel. So in social awareness, we're talking about the ability to take the perspective of others, to think through how other people might feel in a certain situation, to appreciate diversity, to recognize emotions, to read body language, really to understand how other people may fit into the bigger picture.
Social awareness is being empathetic towards someone else or the people around you.
When we think about empathy, we're really thinking about our ability to put ourselves in the shoes of another person and take their perspective. And it takes intentional work. We also know appreciating diversity and showing respect for others is a critical part of social awareness.
I think it's a good opportunity to have a conversation with your children that there are people that are different from us and that our response to them should be the same because we are all humans, we all have differences, and it's important to embrace the differences that we all have. And I think modeling as a parent, opening a door for someone that may be disabled or helping someone that's elderly with their bags and putting their bags into their trunk. Just different things that we as parents, we can model to children so that they feel comfortable knowing that it's okay to do.
How would I feel is an important lesson to be talking with our young people about all the time. And not just our young people, our older students and adults. We all need to be thinking about how might that feel if I were in that situation.
So if we're actually teaching that in school, what does that mean? You can start with your friend. What is Sarah thinking right now? You can do that in a myriad of ways. Teachers are so creative. We do it with books, with characters. Let's talk about this character. What is she feeling? What might she do? How would you feel in that situation? You can actually then have role plays as older kids. You know, talk about something you went through. Talk about how you were feeling. How do you think he was feeling? How do you think she was feeling? Have that be a continuous part of conversations. And this doesn't have to be a separate social emotional lesson. It can be history, English, even math, you name it. There's always a way to talk about how others are feeling and thinking and how you could work more together.
For young children, we would be very explicit about looking at facial expressions and trying to discern the difference between someone who's feeling sad and someone who's feeling angry. Because you can imagine if you're misinterpreting those signals that you may be interacting inappropriately, which can cause additional conflict, where somebody may be sad and need a hug as opposed to someone who is angry and needs space. You want to be able to tell the difference between those and really trying to understand, what if I were in that situation? When we think about people from different races, different cultures, we really have to not just think about my own feelings, but how might this feel given the differences that they have? It's all part of really trying to understand each other as humans. And you need only look at the news to see how difficult this can be and how important it is if we want to have a healthy, functioning society.
So our ability to have empathy both for ourselves and for the people around us actually helps us have a better quality life, better communities. And it's not just about doing good in school. This is about doing good in all parts of your life. If anybody's interested in getting some resources to work on empathy at home or in your classrooms, you can use this QR code to go to the CASA website or this link below.
Okay, we provided you also a heart on your table with certain QR codes. We know we live in a world today where everything's about a QR code now. So we have provided you with certain ones. It's the Stop It At for PISD, Crisis Center of the Plains. They also provided you with information of how to contact them. We also provided Central Plains Center, their 24-hour hotline. And then we also provided the National Abuse Hotline. There are many ways that we're trying to put out for you to reach out for help when help is needed, okay? That was the whole goal. We would like to leave you with a question that you can all ask yourself. How can I cultivate empathy where I am? That question, when I answered that question for myself, it brings me back to what my mom used to teach me when I was growing up. It's as simple as treating others the way you want to be treated. To me, that's what brings about empathy. It's for me to treat you as I would want you to treat me. So we thank you again for joining us tonight. Again, there's support on your campus, every campus. We encourage you to reach out to your campus counselor. Our MTSS department works very well with our campus counselors, and together we will find you and help you through whatever support it is that you're needing. If it's a friend, you walk a friend to your campus counselor. Any way it is that you could reach out for that support, that is what we're encouraging. Again, we thank you for coming and sharing this evening with us. Remember, if you're at Impact, we need for you to let us sign a form for you. And the 2 volunteers, there was 3 volunteers. If you'll come up, and we need to put an extra something on your paper. Is there any questions about anything that was discussed tonight? When's the next group 2? Any questions? Yes. No, the guidance lessons, all students are participating in guidance lessons on campus through their campus counselor. That's from elementary, intermediate, junior high, and high school. Yes. We have certain curriculums that we're using. We have Rethink Ed that we're using. That's a curriculum that provides all kinds of resources. We have recently got a new curriculum that's called the BASE. I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Character Strong, yes, I'm sorry. Character Strong is another curriculum that we're using. So we have many resources and tools that we're using, and that we're trying to reach out to all students to provide the information that is needed. So it is taught to them through guidance lessons. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And the students at Impact are being seen weekly and providing, getting these lessons. So, okay. Absolutely. Yes. And the next one will be I think you're right.